Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is Karen A. from Jerusalem, and this is the Afro-Euro Reco12 podcast. Reco12 is a resource of recovery, recordings, and meetings and shares available to you at Reco12.com. You could hear people who have recovered working the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, but we have meetings and we invite people who suffer from all addictions and all afflictions. So whether you are an alcoholic, a workaholic, a coke addict, a crack addict, a sex and love addict, a validation addict, a gambler, a debtor, a compulsive overeater, an anorexic, a bulimic, and feel free to add more to the list, or all of the above, you are more than welcome here. And we are quite certain that in listening to our live meetings or one of our recordings, you will get some experience, strength, and hope that will carry you further in your recovery journey, hopefully one day at a time, and helping others every day, serving your higher power and your fellows. If you have a recovery story that you would like to share, if you've got your own experience, strength, and hope, I want you here. If you've got friends who've got their recovery stories, please hit me up. I'll put my number in the chat. We are looking for people to share from across all fellowships, all types of recovery journeys, help the addict that is still suffering. You could go to our website and listen to previous shares, and you could even record a small share on our SpeakPipe app there if you want to hit us up there. But like I said, you could reach out to us direct as well. Okay, if you would like to contribute a seventh tradition, you could do so by going to Reco12.com/support. Without further ado, it is my honor and my privilege to invite Jules on vocals, as she calls herself. Jules on vocals, who is an AA, CA, and works a strong program. She'll be sharing her experience, strength, and hope, her recovery journey, and so much more. Jules, I'm really honored to have you and honored to have you as my recovery sister. Welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah, I'm Julie. I'm an alcoholic. I'm an addict with alcoholism. So, yeah, I do a few other fellowships. Yeah, let's just take a moment of silence, yeah, so that we can ground ourselves and hear and say and be with our power and bring it into the room. Just get yourselves out of the way and just ground yourself. Take a breath and arrive. Slow down. There you go. Half a minute of meditation is better than none. Okay, so as I say, I'm an addict with alcoholism. I'm a spiritual seeker, so I'm not going to give you a big long junkalog because you don't need really to hear my story. But I mean, I can qualify briefly just so that you know I'm the real deal and I have earned my seat for sure. And so, you know, for me, it started very early. Probably my dad probably would have given us alcohol all the time. You know, sip this, try this. You know, we're groomed into being alcoholics, really, by our qualifiers generally. For a lot of us, I certainly believe I was. I probably started using at around 12, 13. Might have started with cigarettes and baby sham. And then progressed to, you know, pills and pharmaceuticals. I haven't actually taken any illegal substances since I was 30, so that's 30 years ago. But I didn't consider alcohol because it's not illegal, and everybody does it, don't they? And I couldn't see that I couldn't drink like everyone else, because for a long time I could. I mean, now I look back, I'm like, oh no, I always had to get really drunk. But a lot of the time I didn't have the money to get really drunk. So my alcoholism didn't show up because it kind of couldn't really. And I had to hold it together. Part of survival for me was holding it together. You know, no one was coming. So I had to There's a saying, isn't there, in America, you know, I had to buy the trash can, I had to fill the trash can, and I had to take the trash can out. And so, you know, I had to keep together until I didn't have to keep it together. And then the alcoholism really showed up. And it showed up probably 20 years ago when I got a call from my doctor to tell me I had liver disease, 3 types of hepatitis. That was a shocker. So for a bit, I tried to give up drinking. I'd done my first meeting in NA in 1993 in Brixton, London. And I'd stayed a couple of weeks, gone with a girlfriend. She had a problem. I clearly didn't, because I'd been able to put things down without the help of anything, a program, a higher power, anything. I was always a spiritual seeker, so I would do, lots of things like silent meditations and retreats, and I was a seeker of all kinds of self-help stuff and masses of therapy. That was great. Finding Julie has been fun. But that's where the rub is, isn't it? Because I can find me all day long, but I actually have to get out of me. That's where the problem is. The problem is I have to get out of me and get with the higher power and become reliant on that higher power. And I cannot do that without a program, although I'll be sure to be trying, because I'm belligerent and know-it-all on a bad day. And I don't need you lot. And because no one was coming, I was so unused to asking for help and relying on anything other than me. So how was I going to cope with with finding something to rely on, let alone, turn up at meetings regularly? So the denial went on for a long time, for a very long time. And it took me a very long time to see that, the meetings alone, the people in the meetings, the sponsor I never called, the book I never read, none of that worked, but I was still very stuck in self and trying. And I think one time I managed to get 18 months in NA without a drink. Yeah, did loads of service, because I actually don't think I really heard what I had to do, because I wasn't listening. I wasn't able to listen. I wasn't able to surrender. And that's where the surrender came. The surrender came when I realized eventually that I could not stop on my own accord. And, I had been praying to this power that I have no true belief in terms of a structured religion. Sorry for that. No disrespect meant to anyone else. Their structured religion, you go, you do you. And I tried many different religions. I'm a big theologian. I love all the faith stuff. But it always came to a point where I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's really working for me. So I made my own God up. And of course, I can feel the presence of something greater than me when I bothered to go quiet, like we did at the beginning of this meeting. It is in the pause that God can be found. And it is only in that pause that I get out of myself. And so how am I going to get reliant on that power that is there, that I know is there, that I can feel is there, and that I have to rely on? Well, okay, so starting off on step 1, I'm powerless over everyone and everything. My life's unmanageable. How's that? I've got my house, got my dog, I've got my car on the drive. I'm a successful businesswoman. How's that look unmanageable? Well, it looks unmanageable with or without a drink on the basis of how I think. It is a disease that resides in my mind. So once I put down the mind-altering substances and maybe the mind-altering behaviors, which are pretty hard to put down, but once I put down the things that change the way I feel, and I've assigned myself to align into this higher power, then I have to remember to get to it and rely on it. And unmanageability is how I think. So my sponsor says you can be thunk. You've been drunk. That's done, because you don't pick up. You can't be drunk. Simple. Okay, that's rule number 1. I don't pick up. I can't be drunk. The first one gets me drunk. Geez, I wanted to be belligerent and argue that as well. I wanted to argue about everything. Don't you know who I think I am? Harry Tiebout talks about the alcoholic with alcoholism that can't surrender, that's barely compliant to the program, and that doesn't have a full surrender. And even our greatest non-alcoholic member actually admits that we will need a power greater than ourselves. We will need a spiritual experience. We will need a spiritual awakening. We will need a psychic change. We need to alter our attitude, and it will continue. And because it resides in my mind and I can be thunk, the minute that a thought comes into my head, which is, let's say I'm no longer thinking of a drink, because early days, of course, I'm craving. I'm going to be craving. I was craving for the first 3 months at least, hung on tight like a white knuckle ride until the craving stopped. So, but now the thunk is probably going to be in the realm of the four things that I have to inventory over. You know, am I being frightened? Which I can't see frightened. I only see anger. So I know resentment. So am I being resentful? Am I being dishonest? Oh, I can't even see my own dishonesty. You know, I was dishonest for years. I had a problem with drinking. That's the first dishonesty. And the rest, now I'm in recovery, I have to see my dishonesty. But selfishness, the whole lot is a selfish indulgence, because that's the disease. The disease wants me to drink and die, use and die. And the disease wants me to be restless, irritable, and discontent, with or without a mind-altering behavior. So because it resides in my brain and it wants me to die, and it wants me, the only thing that will remove it is my attachment to God, is to a power greater than myself, which I have to find. I have to be in that fourth dimension as long as I can all day long. And that's a tall order. And if anyone can do it perfectly, they wouldn't need to keep coming back to the meetings. If they could withstand 24/7 with God 100% of the time, they surely wouldn't need to be at meetings. So until then, I'll keep coming back. And that's why I do keep coming back, because I forget. You know, I'm not a stupid person, but I forget. And it makes me feel stupid. And the thing is, there's so much shame and guilt around being, and stigma attached to being a junkie, an alkie, is that, you know, how do I get over that myself? How do I stop feeling so bad about the past and so bad about my behavior? And, you know, I mean, that's just a selfish indulgence. The poor me is a selfish indulgence. Yeah. So that's the thunk. So if I'm in self, it's going to be all about me, all about my righteous indignation. Yeah. What does it say at the end of the doctor's opinion? I came to scoff, I remain to pray. Oh, I definitely came to scoff. You know, I said, I'll do your 1990 and I'll show you this won't work. Oh, was up for a pleasant surprise. It's the gift that keeps giving, you see, because my disease is progressive. And I can't tell you anything you haven't heard before, but I'll just wrap it up in a way that maybe someone will hear and something will resonate, you know? And I'll take a little bit from every meeting. I'll take one item from every meeting I go to, and I'll mull it over like a stone in my pocket. Like Carl Jung said, and his thing was about taking, where he would talk about his dream analysis. He'd take something in a dream and he'd say, mull it over like a stone in your pocket until it makes sense. And that's kind of what we're doing with the disease of alcoholism or addiction. We're seeing self, we're getting honest, we're seeing the unconscious self become real. And we're getting honest so that we can see these selfish indulgences that are endless. Fundamentally, they're endless, isn't it? You know, I don't know that Harry Tiebout, I think he takes it from Freud, not Jung, but he talks about the majesty, the queen baby, the king baby. Oh, man, I can see that in you. I can see your entitlement. I can see your indulgences. I can see that you're just a spoiled little brat that wants it all their own way. And you're so right. And you're going to have a meltdown if you don't get your dinner on time, or you don't get your piece of chocolate you're desiring, or that dress you've seen that you have to have now. That's me. But I can't see it in me if I'm not looking, if I'm not aware, if I'm not reliant on this power to give me the humility to see it. And it can happen in the New York Minute. It can happen that I'm joyous, happy, and free, as it says in the big book on page 133. God, it's a promise. God wants us to be joyous, happy, and free. Okay, thanks, God. So how am I going to get there? Because as an alcoholic with or without a drink, as an addict with or without a drink, I'm restless, irritable, and discontent. And that's because I'm stuck in self. I'm stuck in my entitled selfishness. of I'm right, you're wrong. You need to hear what I've got to do. Let me fix you because I know the answers to everything. Because I love to play a bit of God. I'm the omnipotent one, yeah? Or have I the program where I can stop and see how selfish that actually is? How cruel that actually is, you know? Cruel to me, cruel to you, cruel to everyone around you, because I'm now slipped well away from, and I'm not talking about a religious God, I'm talking about a power, a universal source of power that is everywhere. It's everywhere. It's not a man in the sky with a beard for me. It's not a retributional God. You know, I don't believe in the Old Testament of a God that, you know, flashes lightning bolts at me. That's not my thing. I study a lot of Emmett Fox with my sponsor, as well as the Tebow papers. And, you know, I guess Emmett Fox wouldn't be for the real zealots amongst us, because you'd have to have a really, really, really open mind. And that sounds patronizing. I don't mean that in any way. I mean, I had to have an open mind. I had to see that, you know, I have to see where religious people are right, but also I have to see where the writings of Emmett Fox, the breaking down the Sermon on the Mount, he was a Jesuit, and I'm not selling anything here, but the one thing I've learned from him, because the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, written by Bill W. and Dr. Bob, was actually initially come from the New Thought movement, which was people like Emmett Fox and Ernest Holmes. If you read their stuff, you can read that the big book is just smattered with it, as well as quite a lot of biblical references, really, because they were evangelicals that started it, wasn't there? So there's a bit of history for you. I don't know a lot. I know a little. And if I continue to remind myself that I know a little, I won't be the know-it-all alcoholic that I suffer from when I'm untreated. So I have a disease. I have a disease called alcoholism, called addiction, whatever you want to call it. It is, for me, an ism. It's I, self, and me. That's how the disease resides. And I have to treat it. And how I treat it is I give all that selfish indulgences that I spot quickly as I can possibly quickly, as they come into my head, instantly give them to God, instantly knock them off. So my sponsor says it's like an ember on your arm. You're sitting in front of a fire and it jumps out. What do? You wouldn't let it burn your skin. Well, I probably would if I was off my head. Probably did a lot of harm to myself. Probably wouldn't even know there was a fire ember on me. But that's not what today looks like. I will flick that off because it'll hurt. And I'll flick it off. And that's what I have to do with those thoughts. Those selfish indulgences that go, I'm right and you're wrong. My intolerance of your intolerance. I was very tolerant, and that's where the open mind comes from. The open mind that I have to have is not really an open mind about the program. The open mind is about getting out self. I have to be open-minded enough to see that I'm even in self. And so that's how I get to rely on a power greater than myself. And that's the fundamentals of my my share, really, which I'm guessing I must be close to the end. I don't know what time we started. We started at 8. It's 25 past for me in the UK. And so how do I get reliant on self? Well, it's discipline. I hate the word discipline. I'm not making my bed. I'm not doing what you tell me to do. I don't want to do anything you tell me to do. I want to do it my way. Don't you know who I think I am? And there's that Majesty Queen baby. She's always wanting it her own way. How dare you? Off with your heads, you know? Just like, you know, it would have been in, I think of the Queens of England, Queen Victoria. But how do I see the baby? The baby wants what it wants, and it wants a lot of what it wants, all of what it wants, when it wants it, with who it wants it, for as long as it wants it. How spoiled and entitled is that? And that's what I'm up against, a disease that I need to treat, a disease that I need to, and the only way I'm going to treat it is to see it and see that selfish indulgent and do something about it. And that's fundamentally the basis of step 10. These aren't maintenance programs. This is not a maintenance step. This got nothing to do with maintenance. I don't agree with that concept. It's actually what we have, and we have to do it all the time. And we have to see it because it's a progressive disease. So it has to be a progressive recovery for me. So I have to keep learning. I have to keep, as soon as my mind shuts closed about something, I don't agree with what you're saying, or I don't agree with your ideology, or I don't agree with your way of life, or I don't agree with the way you look, or whatever it is, whatever other intolerant bullshit I've got going on, my mind's shut. My mind is closed. And I have to reopen it and get back into God. And I have to get back into God because all that other stuff is a selfish indulgence of my selfish intolerance of your intolerance. And I can't afford that, because that is a very it's a very polarized, it's a very diametrically opposed world. And, you know, I'm not going to spout from the big book because, I've once said one promise, but the promises of step 5 come to mind. I hear people in meetings saying, "Oh, the promises are not coming true to me because I can't stop regretting my past, and I'm so poor. I've got financial insecurity." It's financial insecurity has got nothing to do with being poor or rich. Financial insecurity is not chasing the money. The money and the honey is what will take me out all day long. And honey being anything sweet as well as what I put in my mouth, as well as whatever other people I'm chasing. I want you to love me. I want you to see me. I want you to respect me. I want you to care for me. I most of all want you to make me right, but you can't. You can't. Because that hole in my soul cannot be filled with anything other than God. That hole in my soul cannot be filled with anything that I think or anything I do. So this is how I do it. Very briefly, I'll finish with it, because it's all right saying it, isn't it? I need to walk my talk, and it's all right saying it, and it sounds like a tall order. And believe me, I believe it is a tall order, but it gets easier. If I practice, that's all I've got to do is practice. That's all we've got is practice. So if I wake up in the morning and it's said there might be some vultures at the end of my bed, which is the disease that wants me to think about something. So it wants me to think about, oh, what she did, what he said, what they did, they're bad, I'm right, da-da-da, whatever it is. Could be for 50 years ago, could be something from my childhood. The disease goes, hey, think about this for a bit. And I'm onto that, and I shine a light on it, which is why I have to do the steps, because the steps shine a light onto that sickness. And I treat it, and I go to God, and I give my day away. And in the early days, I would have said, please help me, please help me, please give me a sober day. I don't even know who I was crying to. Please give me a sober day. And at the end of the day, I'll be like, thank you, and I'll hang on tight. Well, today, I can still ask for a sober day, but a sober day is not about a drink. For me, a sober day is about think. So I'll be like, please direct my thinking, please direct my actions. So I'll give you an example of how the principles in applications work for me on a good day, of course, because I'm not a perfect person. I'm certainly not a perfect addict, that's for sure. But it's a progressive recovery I'm trying to attend to here. And on a good day, knowing that I walk every moment with God, I'm coming out on my drive with my husband, who's in recovery, and I say, which way should we go? Should we go left or right? And I jokingly say to him, what does your higher power say? And he says, my higher power says right. And I go, my higher power says left. He said, that's funny, because I instantly thought left, and then I said right. See, so his instant thought was his higher power thought, and then his ego and his self took over and thought right. So we went left, because that's what we agreed to. And we went left and we drove down the road. And there was a massive traffic jam on the other side of the road. There had been a car crash. That's the way we would have come back. We wouldn't have seen it if we turned right. Now that's small potatoes, isn't it? That's minutia. You know, it's like, but life is minutia. Life is the little things. But that was a perfect application and proof that even in the small stuff, if I look after the small stuff, my mum used to say, if you look after the pennies, the pounds look after themselves. And more about the money and the honey, is it, Mum? But, you know, we got to live. So don't chase it. Please work it. This is progressive, and we have to treat it. And that's enough from me, really. So if the grace of God go I will have a day better because I've chatted and shared with you. Thank you for inviting me, Karen. Have a blessed day, y'all. I'm out. Peace.
Got questions about addiction, recovery, or just life in general? Let's noodle it out together. Grab your big book, a pen, a highlighter, and a notepad, and join Nikki M and me, Justin B, on Reco12 Noodle It Out with Nikki M. Each episode, we take real-life questions, ours, yours, and those from the recovery community, and dig deep into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous to find real, practical solutions. So, if you're ready to do the work and apply the solution, tune in to Noodle It Out with Nikki M, streaming now on your favorite podcast platform.
Wow. Thank you so much, Jules, on vocals. That was really special. That was short and sweet and to the point. And if you guys are like me, I want to hear more about your program. I want to hear more about how you work with others. I want to hear about when you, well, let's go back to the beginning. I want to hear about your process, Jules. When did you realize you needed this program? When did you surrender? When did you surrender powerlessness and really take this seriously? Talk to us about that for a sec.
Okay, so when I got that phone call to say I had liver disease, and I tried to put down drink, that was my last drug of choice, on my own. I lasted about 9 months that time, and then 18 months. So that was 20 years ago. My moment of clarity, my convincer, wasn't that exciting. I had just, we had come into COVID times. I was sober when we came in. Within a very short time, the disease had me exactly where it wanted me, all isolated, sunny summer, perfect for a drink, and inevitably I picked up. There was only one of us could go to the supermarket, and I was shopping for my mum, my brother, and us, and so I was just drinking this drink because I had to. And when I woke up the next morning, I knew it was over. It had been removed from me. But I had been praying hard because I was sick of having my head down the toilet bowl every morning. And I knew it was over. And it was just like that. It wasn't a Hollywood ending for me. I didn't have a moment of clarity in the middle of jail, having killed somebody. Thank God. Probably would end up like that, though, potentially. If I carry on. I don't know where it would end. So how do I work with others, you asked me? I did a lot of service from the minute I came in, whether I was greeter, we were online at this point, which is why online's been great for me because I would find fault in the live meetings. They, for me, were a bit like sewing circles where people just came and talked about the problems. I didn't see how that helped me. Just coming in talking about my problems, I often couldn't hear a program, but that's me pointing the finger. You see, if I'm pointing the finger, I've got 3 pointing back at me. So but online, when we went online, suddenly I've got people all the way around the world, and some of them have some serious solid recovery. And I'll give a shout out to Primetime, primetime.com. Primetimeisnow.com is an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting that deals with ego, self, and alcoholism. And that's where my recovery took a big dive upwards, a deeper dive into recovery because I started to study the Thibault papers. But how I started to help others was just to literally take on any service position, greeter at the meetings, hosting at the meetings, whatever I could do as my recovery got longer, I was able to then start. So that was, I tried to sponsor people, but you can't give away what you haven't got. And I hadn't done the steps, in my opinion, I hadn't done the steps well enough, so I did them again. And only when I really finished them a second time with a new sponsor did I feel like I had something to give away. You see, I suffer from a place where I always think I'm not good enough. So the other day I called my sponsor and said, I think I haven't done these steps right. And he's like, well, you would think that, wouldn't you, Julie? Because you always think you're not good enough. Oh, that's that. Who do you think I am? I'm nobody. That grandiosity, that queen baby. So, yes, I have to work on that. And when I feel I'm good enough, I can help you. And if you ring and help, you ring and you want this, and you're ready to go to any length, that means it says in the how it works, doesn't it? A cannot on a will not. I was a cannot on a will not for a long time. And you can hear it, can't you, when people are ready? So I was ready. That's it. That's how I believe that God did that. I believe that God lifted that from me. And I believe this is the reason I'm here on this earth, in this particular incarnation, perhaps, is to be an alcoholic and help another suffering alcoholics. The pledge I take every morning. How can I be of service? I'm showing up for service. It is a lifetime of service, and that's the purpose for me to stay alive, is to help, and for whatever way I can do that. I don't know if that answered your question, but I rattled on a bit. Thanks, Karen.
That I want you to rattle on some more, sister. Jules on vocals. We need Jules to keep going. So if we're already talking about being of service and having to be helpful, and you just inspired me as you were speaking, I went to grab some little petit four tartlets so I can make them for a friend's party to be of service. You just reminded me, how could I be of service? How could I make someone else happy? How could I make somebody's religious occasion more beautiful? Because that's what we're here to do. Can you give us a spoiler alert, like a little teaser? What miracles have you seen? I mean, we're doing this because that's our new job, right? Is to be of service. But can you share the miracles? Because sometimes we need a little inspiration. Like for me personally, as a result of this work, I got a new job that I love. It actually wasn't as lucrative as what I did in the past, but I actually love what I do. I love the people I work with, and I feel loved and meaningful every day. I might be going on to get my master's degree, praying for that to pan out with the full scholarship, God willing, see how that works out. But like when we're in this work and we're of service, miracles come our way. Can you share some of the miracles you had especially for the newcomers on the line, the person who's still suffering, the person who is not yet sponsoring, so that they can get a preview of some of the goodies, of some of that good stuff, some of the honey, sponsoring, as you put it, the real honey, not the fake honey, not the fake news, right?
Yes, ma'am. So first miracle, I was doing a master's degree. It was a year program. I was in about the third year. I was too drunk to finish it. And when I sobered up, I finished that. And it was a study in Carl Jung psychology. And guess what my sobriety date is? And I couldn't have made this up. I didn't know for about 2 years in. It's Carl Jung's birthday. I mean, if that only God shot, I don't know what is. That's the first miracle for me, but I didn't find out for 2 years, and I couldn't have done that if I tried. And let's talk about the miracles of recovery.
I want to hear miracles in your life. That's cute and all, but I want to hear about, like, because I work this program, I work with others, like this unfolded for me and that unfolded for me. Talk to me, sister.
For me, the greatest miracle is somebody saying to me in a meeting, 3 to 4 years in, that she could hear that I was now reliant on God, and before she could hear that I was reliant on self. That was a miracle. I was like, she hears that? How? Wow. That was a miracle. The work, the effort I'd put into this program was paying off, where other people could hear something, and even I wasn't even aware that it was happening. That was a miracle. Some of the miracles, I would say, are the promises, really. That my attachment to having to have stuff, having to earn money, having to be successful, having to rely on this ego status, that is a miracle. I don't really, it's a difficult question for me to answer, because I don't really, every day is a miracle. I'm a miracle. You're a miracle. If you got a day sober, you're a miracle. That's a miracle enough. I don't need any big Hollywood miracle. I just need to be as well as I can, as treated as I can, and know that this whole program in and of itself is a miracle if I could follow it, if I could just follow it, and if I could help another person. I got married while sober. That was a miracle. Geez, and that was, I was in my late 40s. I never thought anyone would ever have me. I could never hold down any relationship. That's quite a miracle. And they were in recovery, and we met over a guitar in an airport. So that must have been some putting together. God must have had a hard time putting us in the same place at the same time. meeting over a guitar because we're musicians. These are the miracles for me that have come true in my life. And I don't, if I like to keep it simple, I'm not really looking for anything other than the craving of alcohol left me. That's a miracle. The learning to understand that I have to rely on a power greater than myself, and how am I going to do that? And I have to stop myself as at the moment as selfish indulgence comes into my head. That's a miracle that I even know that and can practice that. Mm-hmm. The fact that even somebody might even want to have what I've got because they might see something in me, that's a blessing. I count my blessings. I don't know if those are miracles, but everything is a blessing.
Well, it is a miracle, right? Because if an alcoholic, by definition, is mired in selfishness, dishonesty, self-seeking, and fear, counting your blessings I see that as a big miracle. I, like many mothers in the rooms, I'm constantly, at my wit's end with teens, with tantrums, big people tantrums, little people tantrums, and it's like, and then somebody will share with me about their kid in the oncology department or their kid in a psychiatric institution. I was like, and I'll be like, hey, like, where's my gratitude? So if you're saying you counting your blessings, that's a big miracle. Not to mention that you met your husband and you have a relationship, and that's spiritually based rather than self-based or lust-based or honor-based. Them some big miracles,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Miracles. How'd you meet you met your husband over a guitar? How'd you meet him? How'd that all work out? Two addicts, getting together.
Hey, Spearheads, if you're looking to dive deeper into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous with people who live the solution, then you won't want to miss Reco12 Big Book Roundtable. Join David G., Nikki M., and me, the moderator Justin B., 3 recovered addicts from multiple fellowships, as we break down the big book line by line. In each 30-minute episode, we share our experience, strength, and hope in a real, raw, and practical roundtable discussion. So, if you are ready to learn and apply what you learn, tune in to Reco12 Big Book Roundtable on your favorite podcast platform.
That's just a God shot. We met over a guitar in an airport. I mean, the chances of, I was trying to go to one part of Spain and the computer wouldn't let me. So I had to fly into another airport in Spain. The computer wouldn't let me. How mad is that? So I said to my mum, who was dragging with me, her husband had just died, let's just drive over to the other side. We'll make it a road trip. And we'll go via Granada, which is the town where they make guitars by hand. And so on the way back, we bought a guitar. And she was like, oh, it's too expensive. And I was like, no, I'm going to catch me a man with this guitar. I'm going to sing and play, and that's how I'm going to catch me a man. I didn't even have to strum a note. He pulled up at the airport, saw me with the guitar on my back, approached me and said, did you have to pay for your guitar to get on the airport? And the rest is history, folks. But, I mean, that ain't a miracle. I don't know what is, but there you go. And I had prayed hard for someone to come into my life. And he was an alcoholic in recovery. He was about 10 years in at that point. I want to also tell you that the miracle for me is being an alcoholic. I am very grateful I'm an alcoholic with alcoholism, and I know what I'm up against. That in and of itself is a miracle because...
Wait, I want you to take this really slow, because this is a big one, right? A lot of people, when they hear the word addict, they cringe. They think like, what am I on Skid Row? It was a compulsive overeater who had a love affair with food. It was like, well, I'm not some fatso who binges and purges 20 bags of potato chips. And I want you to take this one slow, because a lot of people have a hard time swallowing that first part, which isn't even step one, right? That is part of the doctor's opinion, is understanding the twofold disease. So talk to me about realizing that you're an addict, and talk to me about loving it. Because even some days, I'm ticked off that I have to smash the delusion that I'm not like other people. Like, I just want to eat chocolate cakes. I just want to flirt. I just want to get angry like everybody else. And dang, you know, I can't. Like, that's not my lot.
Well,
So
you
I want you
can.
to take this
You choose
flow
not
and
to.
talk about it.
So
Say it again.
you can get angry and frightened like everyone else. You just choose not to. And if you do, you're not working your program, I would say. But in the sense of, and that's not me judging you, that's me being how I would be. If I'm going through life wishing I could be a person.
Yeah. But let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to the beginning about being happy or an addict. I hear all that, and you're right.
So
You're right about all that. I just really want the person who is struggling with that word, with that label, with that diagnosis, which should be a self-diagnosis, how you were able to apply it to yourself and what was the path to getting happy about it. Because a lot of people are ticked off about that reality.
Well, that's because they're in self.
Sorry to interrupt, and I really appreciate it so much. Can you explain why we would be ticked off about it if we're in self?
Yeah.
Thanks. And could you share more about like how you, if you can, how you do step 3 when like it's really hard to let go? Like if, let's say you have a very overwhelming day and you keep thinking, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to check this off my like to-do list or action plan. And to when you're not, you want to put it in your higher power's hands, but you're just not, or you're not really doing it completely, because we have to the balance between taking the actions we need to do and like just putting it in, like doing our part, but really putting it in God's hands and like having that peace of mind. So thank you so much, both of you.
Let's take them one at a time. Let's take it one at a time.
Okay.
Good questions.
So no one said this is going to be easy, right? But it's going to be worth it. So it's a process, isn't it? And it's a progressive process, just like the disease is progressive, that I can't be doing a perfect program perfectly every day. But life shows up, doesn't it? People die. There's celebrations, there's commiserations, life shows up. We get busy. Busy is the pest of spirituality. It says it in our today card. So if I can't find the space to pause and know that I'm God, I'm probably enjoying my own suffering on some level, which of course I don't want to hear that, you know, but that's what I do. I quite enjoy getting angry. You know, I can get off on the buzz of fear. You know, fear has the same physiological chemistry as excitement. So if I'm anxious, I'm probably getting buzzed on the excitement chemical, because I can be as addicted to my chemicals as I can anything else. I love getting angry. Righteous indignation. Who doesn't like a bit of that? But that's just me. So yeah, how do I do it? Look, I have to practice it. It's one foot in front of the other. On the days when life shows up, it's one foot in front of the other. I just try and hang out with God as much as I can on that day. Thy will be done, not mine. You know, I hear in meetings, it's a decision, but I have to make the decision. And it's like, yeah, but you know, how do I do that when I'm actually getting off on those chemicals? Well, I first have to be out of self. I have to realize that I'm in self and go, oh, drop back into the disease again, drop back into self. The disease of addiction is the disease of self-obsession. Self, and more self. It says it all over the book. That's what we're dealing with here. And I have to finish the steps, and I have to help others, and I have to do service. And so if it's early days, of course it's confusing for me. In early days, if you told me I had to be reliant on God, I'd like, how do I do that? Well, slowly, one step at a time. We have to take it easy. We have to be kind and gentle with ourselves, and we just have to put one foot in front of the other. And you know what? If I'm hungry, angry, lonely, tired, I go to bed. I put myself to bed like a tantrum toddler. In the early doors, I did it a lot. I could tell I was restless, irritable, and discontent, could not stop that righteous indignation, could not stop my intolerance or your intolerance, and I would put myself to bed and I would just lay there and pray. And if I couldn't do that because I'm so busy and so important and I've got so much on and life's shown up and I've got to run down to see my mum who's not very well and I've got to go to work and earn some money and I've got to pick up the kids and I've got to feed my husband and I've got to do whatever, I can stop for a pause. I can go and sit on the toilet and just pause and just take a breath. Because you see, just before I pick up a drink or a chocolate or a think, don't forget, for me, it's a thunk. I can be drunk. If I'm not drunk, I'm thunk. And that's where the diseases reside, and it's in the way I think. So if I'm not a grateful addict, and they say, don't they, in the rooms, we hear it all over, a grateful alcoholic never drinks. I'm like, well, how'd you find some gratitude? I'm just so angry. Because I'm enjoying my anger, because it's giving me a little buzz. It's my new buzz. It's my new chemical addiction. And just before I pick up that chocolate, that bag of crisps, that righteous indignation, that whatever it is, there's a feeling in my body somatically that tells me something's not right. And that's because I've stepped away from God, and I've stepped away from my power, my pause, my moment of serenity, my peace of mind, my mind of peace. There's no peace anywhere in the world, and I'm being asked to find some peace? Oh man, that is a tall order. But that's what I have to do, because, and so am I grateful to be an alcoholic addict? Not at the beginning, no way. Why me? Poor me. Oh, it's all about me because I have a selfish indulgence. Do I not? And this is a selfish disease. So, and I don't want to shame and blame myself and feel guilty about that. So hold on, let me gently pull that back from all the finger pointing. And let me ask myself, I may not be grateful that I'm an addict with alcoholism for a very long time. All I have is today. I have a daily reprieve that I can only do what I can do in the day, in the next minute, in the next hour. You know, anyone who's listening to this, if anyone ever does listen to this, that's the pause. That's what we're looking for. Pause, pray, process, and then proceed. And you'll find if you walk with God, it won't hurt so much. It won't feel like I have to shove something into my face or shove something into my mind or keep something in my mind, and then I'm thunk. And then I'm going towards a drink. I'm either going towards a drink or away from one. I'm either going towards something that harms me, or I'm going away from it. If I'm going away from it, I'm with God. If I'm going towards it, I've let the thinking do the work. So how do I become grateful that I'm an addict with alcoholism? Well, maybe you never will be. Maybe it's something that will never happen. For me, geez, that's my mum ringing me on the phone, right? With probably one of her dramas. And I will help her if I can. So I don't know for anyone else. I can't speak for anyone else. But every disease I've ever had, everything that's ever happened to me that's negative has been a blessing in disguise. That's how I roll my life, yeah? It's always been a learning curve. Pain is a touchstone of growth, we say in AA. So if pain is a touchstone of growth, one of the pains might be that I've got to admit that I can't drink like everyone else. I can't eat like everyone else. I can't do life like everyone else. I can't afford a selfish indulgence of resentment or a poor me, because it's all a selfish indulgence, yeah? I can't afford to be in self. So how do I get out of self? I have to pause. And I have to see that I am different. And then I'm grateful, because you know what? Everyone doesn't have a spiritual program. Those of us that do, thank God we have a spiritual program, because I get to do things that other people don't get to do. First of all, I'm initially like, oh, they can drink and I can't. Boo-hoo. And now I'm like, yeah, they can drink. You crack on. They're not spiritual people necessarily. Some of them are. So I don't know. I don't know how or when it came. It came because I work these steps. I continually work these steps. I continue these. I do about 3 meetings a day. I sponsor people. I do service. I show up. I turn up. I suit up. I don't throw up. And I just keep putting one foot in front of the other. I hang close to my sponsor. I listen. I learn. I have an open mind. I have a beginner's mind. Every morning I begin again. It's a daily reprieve. It is a simple program. I love to complicate it, because when I complicate it, I go back to self. And then I lose my gratitude for being someone with a spiritual program that only by being an addict did I find. So I'm grateful I'm an addict. Oh, yeah. I wouldn't give this up. I wouldn't go back to being a social drinker who can have a drink and leave it if you paid me. So how you get there, I don't know. And maybe we don't all get there, but we don't have to. As long as we don't drink today and our life looks a bit better from not using something that's killing us, maybe that's enough for some people. It wasn't enough for me, because I'm greedy. I want a bit more from this program. And if I want a bit more, I've got to put a bit more in. That's all I got, folks. I got to go because my mum's calling. Is it all right to to leave you? What time do you normally finish?
Yeah. You have time for a prayer, quick serenity prayer or something?
Yes, ma'am. So I was going to be a smart ass.
Whatever prayer.
How my alcoholism shows up is me being a know-it-all smart ass, right? Sorry if that's a swear word. But I was going to deconstruct the serenity prayer because what happens with me, I don't do structured prayers, because if I do structured prayers, I just reel them off and I don't feel them. I have a two-way prayer that I believe is the most powerful prayer that AA offers us, which is if I talk to God, if I write to God, God speaks back. That I want to stay rocketed into the fourth dimension. So if I just reel off a prayer, I may not actually hear what I'm saying. So if we read the Serenity Prayer backwards, what would we be asking for? We would be asking God for the wisdom to know the difference between the things we cannot control and the things that we can control. And all I can control is to go to God. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Julie. Please post your number in the chat before you pop off to Mom. I hope she's well. Wishing everybody only prayers and light and love and wellness.